another episode here of the Gold Coast Titans Frontline Podcast. It's time to get positive, baby. We got footy back. We've got 2 points under the belt. I don't want to hear about how we got that 2 points, but we have 2 points next to our name. So that is all we get to focus on here. But guys, today, obviously, this is the Gold Coast Titans Frontline Podcast with myself, BKRsport, and Clarkey's Rugby League column, who we will bring in just a few moments. But obviously, if you are new around here, jump down there on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, give us a follow or a subscribe, smack that like button. We definitely do appreciate that. And keep commenting. We love hearing your opinions and your thought processes on our team. If you don't know what we're all about, we talk all things HostPlus Cup, which is Tweed Seagulls, our feeder club, and also the Ipswich Jets, who we got a nice little win this week, love that, and also obviously the Gold Coast Titans men and also the women. So we get through absolutely everything that is humanly possible. But like I said, we are here alongside my co-host, Mr. Clarkey's Rugby League column. How we doing, big fella?
Mate, going really well. I'm ready to buy this week. I'm ready for it's going to be a big week, mate. I think this is a week that Titans fans need for our soul. Mm-hmm. The confidence I had in round one, I'm bringing that straight into round three.
Absolutely.
I'm ready to bark, man. I think this is going to be a great show. I think it's going to be a great week. I'm just happy that we're back. We've got a chance to right the wrong. And collectively, as the Titans community, I can't wait to watch our boys go out there and right the wrong that was round one and really show this competition that, you know, we had an off night. We were missing a few players. It's all good, man. We've got a great opportunity this week, and so I'm fired up for that. As I said, I'm fired up for this show.
Just before we move into the next part here, I want to say, in regards to what you've just said there, is that when the immediate loss happens, right, when we immediately had that reaction to the Dragons, that was in the moment, right? So everyone is entitled to feel their negativity and all that type of stuff and all that jazz immediately after a loss. So you give it a week. But now that we're on to the next week here, we've had our bye, we've had that refresher. I went for a nice, beautiful swim down at Miami today, actually, not at Burleigh. But I was down at Miami and had a nice, beautiful swim, you know, the Gold Coast skyline. You just think, yeah, that was 1 week. You know, now we move on to the next week and, you know, we really get behind this team. And we've got a game that, you know, should be considered an easy win for most teams, but for us, I don't consider anything an easy win, right? So we've got a game we're going to focus on, and I haven't given up any hope of this season so far. You know, that was 1 week, and now it's just time to keep on turning those wheels, son, and believe in Desi all over again.
That's it. We adapt and we overcome, and we compete for that premiership. At the end of the day, that is our goal. That's our dream for all Titans fans. So that's exactly what we want to see this season. Speaking of this season, we're going to add a new little segment to the show. What we're going to do is a trip down memory lane, Blaze. So I'll run this some weeks, you can run it others. But what we're going to do is, whichever team we're facing, we're going to think of like a positive moment or a memory that we remember versing them. So, for example, if we were versing the Sharks, you could say the David Mead pickup try. For this one, I've actually got an entire game I'm going to run our fans through. We've got another new segment as well. This one's called Titans Trivia. Now, you and I did that in the off-season. This time, it's for the listeners. So if you're on YouTube, you can get involved there. But if you're on Spotify or Apple, play along at home as well. A nice, fun one there. Of course, we've got all our usual segments for you guys today. We're going to go over all the Titans news, do our affiliates wrap of the Queensland Cup, react to our team list, and preview our game against the Doggies before closing the show following that. But with that in mind, Blaze, let me kick us off with our new segment, a trip down memory lane. Alrighty, Titans fans, stay with me here. Sit back, enjoy it, like Blaze is, and hopefully, as I get into it, you can start to remember it in your own mind. Sunday, the 7th of September, 2014, round 26. It is Mark Minicello's final game for the Titans. We're at home, and we're up against our current coach in Des Hasler and the 2014 grand finals in the Canterbury Bulldogs. The Bulldogs, they come out, they start hard and fast. They scored 2 tries in the opening 13 minutes. And then again, before the 34th minute, we go into the sheds, 18-0 down, dejected. Doggies fans, on our turf, Seabus Super Stadium, could have been Skilled Park at that stage, but at Robina Stadium, they are barking loudly and they're starting to take over. The second half kicks off, and it's clear our attitude is different. But we're unable to score until suddenly, bang, a flying Khalifa Fai lower, one of the flyers there on the wing for us. He crosses in the corner. We keep working hard. You guys know who scored next. It's the Don, our greatest ever try scorer.
Feed the Don! Feed the Don! Feed the Don and he will score! Feed the Don and he will score! You continue. I just need to sing that song again.
Mate, we love the Don. We miss him. Aiden Caesar converts this try, but it would be his only conversion of 4 attempts that night. And arm wrestle ensues. Titans, 10. Bulldogs, 18. But fading. All 12,563 fans in attendance in Seabus are on the edge of their seat. The game enters its final 10 minutes. No change to the scoreline. Bang! Mark Minicello in his final game as a Titan. He scores playing at prop. The crowd goes wild. They can't believe it. We're back in this game, and a club legend in his final game has scored. 9 minutes to go. Bulldogs 18, Titans 14, and chasing and fighting for everything. The clock, it becomes our worst enemy. 6 minutes left. 5, 4, 3. Is our season going to end on a what if? No, it's Brad Takairangi. He is in. Caesar takes the shot at goal, but he misses. Scores are now locked. 18 all. We head to overtime. All we want as Titans fans is let's just finish our season on a positive. We're not playing finals. Let's get a win here. Blaze, let me check your Titans history. Tell our viewers what happens next. We're in Golden Point. Do the Titans get the dub, or do the Doggies walk away with a victory?
Oh, mate, of course we get the dub, son.
Yeah,
of course we get the dub. And actually, I'm going to tell you guys a quick little fun fact about this game. So this was one of the very, very, very few games that I actually was not at. I was watching this game in Fiji, and when this field goal went over, I flipped the whole chair. Like, I was so happy that I literally flipped the entire chair, son. It was crazy, man. But yeah, look, you keep going on with it. But no, we obviously did win. We slapped it up, and thanks for coming.
Mate, we got that field goal in extra time. I believe it was Aiden Caesar. If not, it would have been Daniel Mortimer. I'm fairly confident it was Aiden Caesar. I actually was live at this one. So this is one of the odd ones where I'm there live, but you weren't. But I would have been 17 at the time. I was in the general admission right behind after Aiden Caesar kicked it. So like I thought I saw it went through. But yeah, I remember I started like trying to give banter to Doggies fans. Like, the old see you later. Yeah, it was a bad move. And as I said, I was 17 at the time, so I was a minor. And I said, there's your season gone. You couldn't even beat us. And because they were paying out on us, of course. And they tried to get physical with me, even though I was a minor. But what a crazy game, man. Daniel Mortimer topped the tackle count in this one with 37. That's pretty rare that a halfback tops the tackle count. Big Mark Ione from the bench. He had 200 plus meters. Mark Minicello, 1 try, 166 meters gained, 75 post contact, 9 tackle breaks, and second in tackles for our side with 36. An absolute amazing way to send off Mark Minicello, who went over and continued his career for Hull FC in the Super League. But what a way for Mini to sign out. And to close out this segment, I've actually got a question for you. If you could bring back one Titans legend, obviously as it currently stands, most fans will say Scotty Prince, because then you've got a Prince and Foreign combination. But what about one forward? You can bring back one forward right now with our current pack in their prime. Who are you bringing back and why?
Ash Harrow. I'm taking back Ash Harrow.
Ash Harrison?
Ashley Harrison, mate. We need a 13. We need a 13 right now, and he's the man for the job. We'll talk a little bit in this podcast today about, the interesting selection of Jimmy Jolliffe, who goes to our 13. But I think that Ash Harrow, a part of the Queensland dynasty, I think that would be the absolute big-time bopper right there. So Scotty Prince is the obvious one that everyone's looking at. But, I'd even say Nathan Friend's a good shout, in the forwards and whatnot, but I'm taking Ash Harrow.
I'm going to go Shannon Boyd.
What are you talking about?
I'm a little bit stuck on this one. I thought Minicello, Luke Bailey. I thought of Harrow like you did. Then I went to someone who's still playing in Jai Arrow, and I thought I'd love to have him back. But in the end, I landed on Greg Bird. Because Greg Bird was a 5'8" who moved into the back row / lock because he was too big. So I feel like he'd be really suited as our 13 right now. So I'm going Greg Bird for that role.
I don't mind it.
But that is our new segment, guys, a trip down memory lane. So every week, Blaze or I will run you through a fantastic moment in our club's history. Can
I just clarify something? So this segment that you've created, so every time we play a team, we're going to go back over a really good moment against them. Can I clarify that?
Absolutely, mate. Let's start the podcast with some positivity.
Okay, so
I want the Panthers.
Yeah, I want to ask you what happens next week, Dane.
Who do we have next week?
The Dolphins.
That is That's a tough one, but that is the only tough one.
No, we will find a way, son. We will find a way. We're talking about the preseason game. We're talking about the preseason game from last year. There you go. We've got it ready. We've got it ready.
No, this year's preseason game with our young guns. That was we'd probably have to say that if we're honest. But Dolphins would be the only one that we would struggle to find a positive moment for. Even like a side like the Storm, who've been utterly dominant against everyone, we've got a positive moment.
I remember some good moments there.
We do. So that's what we'll bring to you guys. We're going to start this podcast with some positivity, get everyone in the right frame of mind, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who we're versing. We want to remember the good times, and we want to get behind our team and give them every chance we can. Our next segment here also involves you guys. So welcome to the new one. This one's called Titans Trivia. So this one is purely for the viewers. And our question this week, I've come up with this one. Blaze, you got next week. I want our viewers to name 5 players of our top 10 most capped in Titans history. So, of our all-time club games played, there's 10 players in that top 10 since 2007. You just need to name 5 of them. So, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and drop it in the comments now as we're live. Have a think while you're going. And if you're on Spotify, Apple, listening in the car, whatever you might be doing, have a think and see if you can come up with it as well.
Jared
Titans news time, baby. No, not Jared Not Jared Titans news time, baby. Brent Reed, a journalist for News Corp and Triple M, he's come out on radio and said he expects David Fifita will remain with us. If you guys aren't tracking, it is reported he has a clause in his contract that he can leave the Titans if he chooses before round 10 this year. However, Brent Reed, a prominent journalist, says that will not occur. Non-story for me, not too much to add to it. Would you agree?
Oh, no, that was interesting, Brent Reed. If you're watching this right now, you're listening right now, we really appreciate your really intellectual, journalistic work on the Gold Coast Titans by letting us know that David Fifita, I know it's Sherlock Holmes kind of stuff here, is not leaving before the 10th round. He's not exercising a clause after he's just re-signed the club less than a year ago. So thank you, Mr. Reed, for your really, it's really intelligent stuff.
Yep, and I think the only reason Dave's manager put that in the contract was in case Des Hasler came in and had a crazy plan for him. Like, mate, I'm beefing you up and I'm moving you to prop. Or we're going to do or we're going to do a CSF Italikai and move you from back row to centre and something like that. It's just Dave's manager.
Well, Justin gave Dave a shot in the centres last year, didn't he? Or was it the year beforehand?
Yeah, it didn't work. It was, and it was almost like he was trying to replicate the CSF Italikai move at the time, and it's not how Dave plays his best footy. Next bit of Titans news, or I suppose rugby league news, it is multicultural round. In our club, we have 24 different cultural heritages that are represented within our top 30. And if you guys don't know, this is actually a fun fact. This is from the Titans website. Des Hasler, one of the first things he did at our club in our high performance center was he put up a sign that said welcome in English and then had the word welcome in every single 24 of the different cultural heritages that we have at the club. So, for example, for Mo, it says welcome in Tonga, Tino, welcome in Samoa, etc., etc. So,
you know what I found interesting about this was that we have quite a few Danish players here. I would never have expected. It was quite funny because obviously Loffy has 4. I think he's Samoa, Māori, Australian, Indigenous, and also Pakistan as well, which was a little bit of a throwaway one. Obviously, that's where the Khan comes from there, and Khan Pereira and whatnot. But it was really interesting to see the flags on the different players and to see that, Tino and Isaac, obviously brothers, they're Australian, Samoan, and I think they also had Danish in them as well from Denmark. So, interesting.
There's actually a lot of Polynesian people that have Norwegian, Swedish, or Danish heritage mixed in there as well.
Well, I will tread the line here, and I'll say that my mum, she owned a jet ski business in Fiji for a very long time on a backpack run called Robinson Crusoe Island, and there was a lot of Danish and a lot of Swedish and a lot of Norwegian and all that type of stuff. So, there is a lot of Scandinavians who do go through the Pacific and whatnot. So I get it, I definitely understand it, but it's just super interesting to see kind of that part of the world in our game and whatnot. But definitely a lot of Scandinavians throughout the Pacific, which is something that most people wouldn't really recognise.
No, it's very true. And if Denmark ever does get a rugby league team, I'll get a couple of my cousins in. We'll get Tino and Isaac in the front row, Jaden Campbell fullback, and I might even fill in at halfback. Maybe I'll go captain coach. We'll have to wait and see. But no, in all seriousness, guys, it's multicultural round. It's a very important round to celebrate the diverse cultures in our game, and that we are an inclusive game for everyone. And I just wanted to mention what Des did with that mural in our high performance center. I think that's a really nice touch.
It's an awesome touch what he's done there, and that's why. Although it is a nerve-wracking time as a Titans fan to go to an away game at Belmore, it actually kind of is the best time to go to an away game at Belmore because of the fact that that Western Sydney area is very multicultural, and Belmore is obviously very heavily in regards to the Lebanese influence and whatnot. So, I'm really looking forward to getting down there and trying out some Lebanese food, and enjoying it and whatnot. So, you have to look at the positives, guys. There is going to be negatives there, but you have to look at the positives, and I think this is the best time to play the Dogs at a place like Belmore. Although the passion might be well and truly, enhanced, at the end of the day, it's going to be a great time.
Yep, a celebration of culture and rugby league all in one. We see it in the All-Stars as well. It always makes for a great showpiece. Our final piece of Titans news, our NRLW skipper, Georgia Hale, has re-signed until the end of 2026. And I was thinking of ways that I could really portray how important this is for our club. And I thought I came up with this simple statement. If we lost Georgia Hale, we're immediately not premiership contenders in my mind. That's how important her leadership is, her defense is, and her ability to link with the halves and the backs, because she was formerly a halfback there for the Warriors. So Georgia is so important to our club. Without her, I think our premiership window closes. The fact we've extended her until the end of 2026 gives me great hope that we are genuine NRLW contenders during that period. And I'm really hopeful we can get across for a premiership with her as captain. She absolutely deserves it. What did Georgia's re-signing mean to yourself?
Yeah, I think that absolutely, I wouldn't say that the premiership window closes. We do still have a very, very good team outside of Georgia Hale, but I will also agree with you and say that she is probably the most important part of the team, but we're also getting the likes of Talia Fuimona back into the team in the halves and whatnot, and we've got a really good fullback and some great players all over. So, and Jamie Chapo, the best centre in the game, Shaylee Benton, whatnot. So, and the best front rows in the competition. So, I will just kind of clarify that for everyone out there that I wouldn't say that without Georgia Hale we don't have a chance to win the comp, but I do think that she takes us from on the brink and probably third or fourth favourites for the comp to actually genuinely putting us as favourites for the competition. Like, I genuinely do believe this Titans team, this women's team, is the favourites for the competition this year, with the fact that you've got all these brilliant players in origin positions and international positions, and Georgia Hale is an absolute peak in this regard, and our captain. So, yeah, I'll have to definitely agree with you in that regard and emphasise how important it is, for sure.
I'm looking at NRLW side while you speak, man, and there's so many exciting options. It's does Lauren Brown play hooker again, or do we keep her at halfback? If that happens, does Zara Canfield start at back row again, or does maybe Fuimaono transition into a back rower? There's that option as well.
I don't think that we can have Lauren Brown as a halfback because with we have Sienna Lafippo and we also have Shante Kiriaratu, who's had another year under their belt, and then in the 5'8", Talia Fuimona comes back, which is what our big signing was in the off season. And I think Lauren Brown has to go to that number 9. But yet, Brayley Nati was fantastic in the 9. We've got some really good questions. But obviously, we'll talk more in depth about this, I think, around June or so. I think that's when the NRLW starts back up, because you have the origin of the women's, which is basically their first game in a long time. And then, obviously, we get into the NRLW. So I think it's around June it comes back up, if I'm not mistaken. And we'll be talking very in-depth about it all.
Yeah, got up the draw there. It says Sunday the 28th of July is our first NRLW game this year. So as we get close to that June-July period, like we did last year, we'll bring you extensive previews and predictions for that season as well. I've noticed with some other podcasts from other teams that I've listened to, the women's game is it's just a little point for them. It's something off to the side, like, we won this week. That's not how we roll around here. If it's a Titans jersey, we are all in and invested.
That's not how we roll, son. We slap it down for the women, man. We slap it down. Yeah. I can't wait.
And I think as Titans fans, we have the best support for NRLW in the competition. The only team that rivals us, from my experience, is the Knights. But the Knights do a lot of 2-for-1 where it's before their NRL game, so it's tough to kind of gauge how many people would be there organically, I suppose.
I will say, though, that when they were in the finals last year, they got a massive crowd. I think it was like 15,000. It was just only the women's game. To be fair, it was a doubleheader between... No, it was Broncos Knights. Yeah, Broncos Knights to get into the grand final. Really, Broncos were super close to actually winning that game, so kind of preferred them to win, because we would have beat them in the grand final, and it would have been just a beautiful day to see both the Broncos women's and the men's lose on the grand final, and us win one of them. That would have been so good, but it wasn't to be. But the Knights have and this is with all due respect, I love every single part of our community, I would say the Knights are still, but that's because of the success. Because they've had that success, they are number one in regards to the fan engagement, and we would definitely be the clear and out number two for mine. But you give us the same success that the Knights women's team has had. They've won 2 in a row now. Bang, I reckon we go above them.
Yeah, definitely. That's just always been the way on the Gold Coast. Like when the Titans are humming, whether it's NRL or NRLW, like fans come out. You've only got to look at how packed Skilled Park was back in the day.
No place will light up like the Gold Coast will when we win on anything, on any level.
Yeah, it's I don't know how to explain it, but it's always there bubbling, and we just need the right ingredients. So hopefully Des and Karen Murphy's already proven she's got it, but hopefully Des brings them for our men's side as well. Affiliates wrap time. If you guys aren't familiar with this segment, we go through our reserve grade players and we recap how they went and talk about how they could be progressing up the pecking order in terms of getting back into our NRL squad. So I will kick us off with the Ipswich Jets, and then we'll just go player by player, I suppose, for stats. They defeated the Western Clydesdales 36-16. Why this is so important, guys? This marks the Jets' first victory in 582 days.
That's a crazy number, man. 582 days without a win. It's a crazy number.
Do you remember that massive streak we felt as Titans, and then we beat the Tigers by 2 points? And everyone said, it's just the Tigers. Why do you care? I can't imagine how Ipswich Jets fans are feeling. That would have been an awesome feeling watching that win. So congratulations to the club. Our Titans did play a big role in that with Ryan Foran, Ken Mamalo, Jalen DeGroot, Joe Stimson, and Harley Smith-Shields all scoring. Interestingly enough, Kyle Foxwell, who caught our eye in the trials, he scored a double as well to round out all 7 tries there. So first player we'll go through, Kenny Mamalo. He was on the wing. He scored 1 try. He had 142 metres and 4 tackle breaks. Next player.
Oh, am I going now? Or are you going?
We'll just go player for player, yeah.
All right, Harley Smith-Shields, he got 1 try, 74 metres, 10 tackles, and a massive 0 missed. That's amazing stuff there.
Next player is Aaron Shoppy. Now, he kicked 3 from 6 on goals, 220 metres gained, 93 of which were post-contact and 5 tackle breaks. Blaze, why I find that so interesting was we go to round 1, and Shoppy underperformed, you'd say, by his standards. And Harley Smith-Shields was our key performer in the centres. And we kind of said, has Harley overtaken him in the depth department? Well, Aaron Shopp, the very next game, has said, no, I'm still the next centre option here. So it's a great game by Shoppy. Really, really proud of that effort by him.
Yeah, that's what we love to see, man, with the old Shoppy. I think that he just needs to get some confidence. I know Aaron well, and he's just a confidence builder kind of guy, and I feel like Harley would be the same kind of deal as well. I don't know him as well yet, because obviously he's only recently new to the Gold Coast, but proud of Shoppy getting right back into the form. 220 metres is absolutely massive, and half of those is pretty much post-contact, which is brilliant. Next up here, we do have Josiah Pahulu, 48 minutes for 131 metres from 13 hit-ups, so basically 10 metres, just over 10 metres per hit-up there, which is great. 5 tackle breaks, 18 tackles, and again, no tackles missed.
Really can't ask for much more from like a 19 or 20-year-old prop. That's a big effort there. Next player is Ryan Foran, who is in our top 30 as a back rower. He scored the first try. He played out the full 80, making 54 metres, 2 tackle breaks, 26 tackles. Unfortunately, he did miss 4. But I think the try there to start is a good confidence booster for Ryan, and we'll continue to see him develop throughout this year.
Yeah, for sure. That try is going to help his confidence galore. This will, I believe, will push Ipswich into a really good confidence booster, kind of where they'll get on a bit of a run here. And as we'll speak about with the Seagulls in a bit, like it's kind of looking like we might have read both these teams completely the opposite way at the moment. Like Ipswich are just getting, I guess they're getting more of our guys. Like they're getting a whole dump of them, while Tweed aren't really kind of getting all the players like a Tommy Weaver or Kinney because they're with us, right? But for the final play here in regards to Ipswich, Joey Stimson played lock, scored 1 try, 220 metres, just like should be, 71 post-contact metres, 9 tackle breaks, and 29 tackles for 2 missed, which is a monster effort there from Stimson.
In my mind, that's probably Joe Stimson's best ever game. Certainly statistically wise it is. And I do wonder, let's say he puts in another performance like that. Des has shown this year he is willing to trial with the lock position. We have seen Tino play it in week 2 of the trials. We saw, who was named in round 1? Sorry, someone was named there and Isaac ended up starting there.
Keenan Palacia.
We've seen Kenan Policia named, but then Isaac play there. And now we're seeing Jimmy Joliffe this year. So that's 4 locks in as many weeks that have been trialled by the club. If Joe continues that form, I don't think it's a question of if Des Hasler will give him a chance at starting 13. I think it's when. Because he's shown he's willing to experiment that lock position. Joey had a great game. Hopefully he keeps it up, man. That's the workhorse mentality that Joe Simpson brings to clubs. And last year, I don't know if this has been confirmed officially by the club, but I was told by someone he had a busted shoulder that needed surgery.
He did.
And that's why his defense probably wasn't as good as it's known for. But, man, a healthy Joe Simpson with 2 shoulders, hopefully he keeps that form, man, because that is great form.
I will just really clarify for everyone here. I'm not doing this to be a negative Nancy or anything like that. But obviously the Western Clydesdales are not one of the top teams in the competition. So we do have to remember that the Western Clydesdales last year, they did win 3 games, lost 17 and were in third last, which was still 3 games more than the Jets. So, I want to see the consistency. And I feel like that's why I bring that up. Because I'm not here to be a negative Nancy, but I am here to say, I need to see the consistency here. We're gonna have that question asked through not only this Ipswich Jets team, but also the Tweed Seagulls team and also the men's team. All right, so this is a question that will come across every single sector. But I just want to see them continue on with it and prove themselves. And a good 20-point win here is a great start. And next week, let's just quickly go and have a look here to see who the Ipswich Jets do play this week.
The Tigers.
They're going up against the Brisbane Tigers in Brisbane, right? So it is an away game there. And look, we just want to see them do well here. And Brisbane Tigers, they're currently in 14th place, so it's definitely a winnable game for them as well.
Blaze, check the next line in our notes there for our show notes. Come on, mate. I'm better than that. I had you covered. I had you there for the Brizzy Tigers this week.
Yeah. Okay. Well, guess what? Hey, what about on your notes here? Why don't you tell me who Tweed? You've got Tweed there, right? Who are they playing this week?
I have forgotten that. I know.
Yeah. It's the Burley Bears, by the way.
Because I brought up the draw while you were speaking. So
it's the Bears.
Let's wrap that up for our Titans. Obviously, we're wrapped with that Shoppy best performer. You probably say Stimo second. And then third for me, probably Josiah Bahulu in that game. So well done, boys. Magnificent win and on to the Brisbane Tigers this round. As for our Tweed Seagulls, now they unfortunately didn't fare as well. They were defeated by South Logan Magpies. Not the best start there. They lost 24-16. What I will say though, man, is if you go to that Magpies team, the entire backline is like Broncos young guns that will be stars of the future. They just can't
Tristan
get a crack
Saylor,
on this
Ethan Quay-Wood, Joey Tamane.
Yes,
exactly
very
right.
good. Very, very good players there. But regardless, this is how our players went. I'll kick us off with Jojo Fafita. He played at centre. He made 153 metres, 1 tackle break, and made 8 tackles for 2 missed.
Yep, we've also got Isaac Malawi there. Interchange for 29 minutes, 35 metres, and 20 tackles for 3 missed tackles.
Now, last week, Isaac played limited minutes as well. I remember it was like under 40. Do you know what's going on there with Tweed? Are they purposely limiting his minutes?
Well, I don't really know what's going on with Tweed in general. Like, I definitely am getting around them. Like, I love Tweed and they're our feeder club, but I'm confused why... for example, maybe they didn't give Keanu Kent... Like, I know that Keanu is still playing this week and Tommy Weaver's not playing this week, so why did Tommy Weaver not play in this game? Is my question. Like, why did he not come back into the halves for Tweed? So I'm kind of going off topic from what you're saying, but, there's got to be something here that kind of, there's a reason why. Because this was the team that we really believe in this year. This was the Ipswich Jets, had a good team, but Tweed Seagulls had a big talent. Now, yes, they're missing Keanu Kenny. Yes, they're obviously missing Tommy Weaver and whatnot. But, yeah, look, I'm just a little bit confused why this team's not performing right now because they do have the talent. But, again, I don't know why Tommy Weaver didn't play considering that he's not playing this week.
Yeah, I expected Tweed to start the year 2-0, if I'm honest. I did say in our preview show, I think South Logan Magpies will be their biggest competition this year. And they did only lose by 8, and it is only round 2. But I would have thought Northern Pride are a team that we'd be beating as well. But when I made that prediction as well, Blaze, they didn't have Jake Clifford back yet, I don't believe. Or if they did, I didn't factor that in at anything. And I just had a look as well. Isaac only played 18 minutes at starting prop in round 1 for the Seagulls. So that's... I'm not the best at math, but that's 50 minutes in 2 games. That's a lot less than what he's capable of.
It's not great.
The trial, especially if the trial was anything to go by against the Dolphins. So something if you can ask around at training and find out next week.
Yeah.
I'd be very interested if you could see, even just ask Isaac what's going on there. Our final player was Jacob Arlick. He scored a try again. He scored a try again. This guy scores tries for breakfast in Queensland Cup. He had 137 metres, 4 tackle breaks, 24 tackles and 2 missed. Another great game by Jacob Arlick. And dare I say, Blaze, another option for lock potentially. There's so many options there, man.
There's a lot of options for lock for sure. Jacob Arlick is one, but he is playing in the back row here for Tweed. So he's actually not playing in the 13, which is what he was doing at Burleigh Bears last year. He is in that number 11, whilst Jerome Veve is the 13. So yeah, he's an option there. And I feel like right now, the beginning part of the season, Desi is just trying to figure out, because I think that everyone is so laser focused on that 7 role, right? They're so laser focused on Tanner Boyd, Tommy Weaver, blah blah blah, right? We hear it every day, we understand it, we get it, and we will get into this in a second. But there is actually probably a bigger issue for the team, and that is the 13. It actually probably is a bigger issue as we currently speak. In about 3 rounds' time, we might come to that halfback position and say, okay, yeah, no, fair enough, there is an issue. But for the time being, I think our biggest issue right this very second is actually lock. So, yeah, Desi's just trying to figure it out, and Arlick is another option.
Yeah, I personally think another person we need to trial at starting lock would either be Chris Randall or Aaron Clark.
Or Tino.
No, I think for Tino, because he's also got the captaincy, another element to factor in.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Like, we'll get into this in a second, right? We're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but I agree in regards to Tina there. I've always been a big believer of Tina front row, but I'm saying that I think Tino's more of a 13 than Jimmy Jolliffe is. But then again, we're going to let the mad scientist do what he does. We're going to see how it pans out. And what's the bet that, like I said the other week, the lineup that gets put out doesn't necessarily mean anything in regards to what actually plays, right? Like, we literally called that before that Dragons game. So, anyway, long story short, Clarkey didn't put down who Tweed played this week, but they are playing in the Burleigh Bears at home, which is going to be a big one. I wish I could get down there. Obviously, I will be in Sydney on Saturday for the Titans vs Bulldogs game. Otherwise, I would have gone to support the Seagulls versus the detractors, the betrayers who went to the Broncos. Definitely get down to pick a bean there. It's at 6 p.m. on Saturday and get behind the Tweed Seagulls in a game that we need to win. We need to win, especially against the betrayers from the Burleigh Bears.
Definitely, we need to win that game. Final question for me before we move on from our affiliates wrap and go to our NRL side. Cleese Haas. Now, I would say he is a way better defender than Jacob Arlick, but I would say Jacob Arlick is a way better attacker than Cleese Haas. If we struggle to put points on this week, would you consider starting Jacob Arlick in the back row instead of Cleese Haas, and if David Fifita does return, onto the bench instead? Would you consider that if we struggle to score points this week?
I prefer Cleese in the team. I think that Cleese has earned his spot in the 17. I do think that Dave obviously isn't playing this week, right? But I do believe there is a good chance he could play the Dolphins, and he will definitely play the Cowboys, is what I'm led to believe. So I will say that Alec is great, but I do think that Cleese Haas right now has earned his role in the 17, considering he was one of our best players in a game we lost 28-4. Now, I know that's not a great time to be alive, but at the end of the day, he was one of our best players in that game. So he's come leaps and bounds. Dave comes in, and I believe that Cleese is a role in the 17.
Something to think about for our listeners, but I tend to agree with you as well. I think if your Desi has, the last thing you want to do is have our fringe forwards rather on eggshells, thinking, if I stuff up, there's a lot of depth there to replace me. Because the honest truth is there is a lot of depth there in the forwards to potentially replace anyone at any time, and we don't want that mindset this early in the season at least. Alrighty, let's park that there. That is our reaction and recap to everything that was in our reserve grade sides last round. And of course, we'll do the same on our show next week. It's time to move to our team list reaction, Blaze. So not too much surprising here. Keanu Kenny still at fullback. Of course, Jaden Campbell remains unavailable. Kieran Foran returns in the halves. Tanner Boyd remains at halfback instead of Tommy Weaver, who was another potential option. Chris Randall remains at starting hooker with Sam Verrills coming from the bench. Cleese Haas holds his spot at back row. Jimmy Jolliffe has been named as the lock with Isaac Liu coming from the bench. Our reserves are Joe Stimson, Harley Smith-Shields, Jacob Arlick, Tommy Weaver, and Josiah Bahulu. So off the top of the bat, I don't see any of those reserves coming in. That'll get cut to 19 closer to game day, but I don't think any of those reserves come in and replace everyone. The likely change for me is Isaac Liu starting again with Jimmy dropping to the bench. Can you, let's say for argument's sake that does occur, can you like logically for any reason think why Desi does this? Name someone else and then, because he did it last week as well.
I think he's just taking the piss, to be honest with you, mate. Like, I think it's just like Desi. Like, anyone who knows Desi knows Des is just the type of guy that he won't take any shit from you, but I can tell like he's a funny bloke. Like, I can tell that he's a deep thinker, and I think he's just kind of having a bit of a laugh, really. Because look, for me, I don't think that Jimmy Jolliffe is a 13, right? I don't think you think that Jimmy Jolliffe is a 13. I don't think many people think. I don't think Jimmy thinks that he's a 13, right? But he will do what he needs to do if Desi selects him there. But as you said, like, look at this, right? You go and have a look at that bench. Jimmy is the 13, who we don't think is a 13. You've got Isaac Liu, who's the 13. You've got Aaron Clark, who's the 13. And you've also got Keenan Palacia, who people believe can play 13. Yeah, exactly right. I believe he's a front rower. But with that being said, like those three guys there on the bench, you could argue, say, that come in for Jimmy. So I think that could be just a bit of a Desi laugh there, to be honest.
Yeah, I can't put my finger on it because it's not like he's naming Jonathan Thurston, who's injured, and making the opposition think like, oh, JT's back or anything like that. So it's a strange one, man. I did forget to mention this in our Titans news segment, actually, and seeing Keenan Palacios just jogged my memory. He did say to the newspaper that when Blake Moses' contract expires at the end of 2025, he might try to get him to the club, but I suppose we can talk about that another time. It's too far in the future for now. So, team list, Jimmy Jolliffe surprises us. Nothing else surprising for you there? You're still happy with Chris Randall starting at 9, Sammy from the bench?
Yeah, I think that's fine. When Tino and Mo come off, you've got Sammy Verrills in the middle there to help out, and Chris Randall gets through all that kind of tough work. Obviously, well, you go on what you're about to say, but yeah, there's no real surprises in that. And I will say this. I'm going to reply to the Gold Coast Titans fan club that is losing their mind right now. Like, losing their mind. I've seen some wild comments. Some absolutely wild comments of fire Des Hasler if we lose this week. It's going crazy in that group. So I'm going to come out and say, like, to move AJ back to the fullback for 1 week and kick Keanu out is insane. With JC coming next week, so now you're adjusting everything and you're taking AJ out of the position that we've trained him for to put him into the fullback. When I know that he plays fullback, we've got depth at the centre, but why are you mixing up the team when we're 1 week away from getting Jaden Campbell back, who was very close to playing in this game here? For the people calling for Tanner Boyd's head, you are insane right now. Like, you are insane right this very second. If this happens and we lose this game and we lose the Dolphins game and Tanner doesn't play well, call for his head. Like, I get it. But, like, give more than one game. We're 1 game into the season and people are like... And I get Tanner Boyd has had a long time to prove himself. And I get that last week we kind of went in and said, look, he needs to prove himself. But give him this opportunity to prove himself in a game against the Dogs and then in a game against the Dolphins. And people are going to be like, oh, the Dolphins are the world beaters now because they beat the Dragons. It's not how it works. Stop being so reactionary. Stop being so long-term reactionary in the moment is what I say. Because people, they want to change the whole damn well team, the whole damn well organisation. I've seen Steve Mitchell starting to get insulted here. And it's just like, what you talking about? Do you have any idea what you're talking about? So, like, just bottle it up. Bottle it up. Wait to see what happens in this game. Wait to see what happens in the Dolphins game. We're 4 rounds in there. 3 actual games, mind you. And then we play the Cowboys. And I feel like that's when we can fairly say, okay, if Tanner's not been performing, we do have to think about what else to do, right? But it's only 1 game. That's what I have to say.
And I guess why people would feel that way, I'll bring that up, is because it is only round 3 and we've seen Sean O'Sullivan, Lachlan Ilias and Jackson Hastings drop from their respective clubs, but that doesn't mean we should follow suit under any circumstances.
But see, people have still insulted Tommy Weaver. So it's not like, so we've only got 2 7s right now. People are asking for Kyle Foxwell, who's, fun fact for everybody, not in our 30. Now, I love Kyle, right? I know Kyle, talk to Kyle. Kyle's a great bloke, and I believe in what Kyle can do. But with that being said, I guarantee you that if Kyle came in and we had him miraculously had him in our 13, in our 30, right? And he played against this team here, the Dogs, or he played against next week the Dolphins. He's not experienced enough. He'll come in, I bet you, and this is with all due respect, again, love Kyle, I bet you he stinks it up. and then every one of you call for his head as well. And it's like, we have an issue with blaming sevens 24/7. We go over this all the time. Ash Taylor, Jamal Fogarty was one of them. You know, Kane Elgie. We had the recent one of Toby Sexton, as always. And now it's Tanner Boyd. Next up, it'll be Tony Weaver, who's already starting to get it. And then it'll be Kyle Foxwell, it'll be whoever we get. And now we've got people demanding we get Jackson Hastings. You know, like, we've got people demanding. It's just, like, and I respect everyone's opinions, right? But it gets really concerning that people are just so reactionary long-term for an immediate reaction, if you know what I'm saying.
The only two halves right now that are somewhat realistic of us signing that I'd be genuinely happy with is, number one, Jonah Pezzett from Melbourne, because we've seen Tino bring that professionalism up.
Yeah. I just like laughing because I said this to you last week or something, and you were like, yeah. So,
will you say who I responded with then?
I can't remember. I'll be honest. I can't remember.
Oh, goodness. It was Aiden Caesar, and it's not because he's the world's greatest halfback, but it's because I actually spoke to Aiden in his final game. I was waiting at the back to get my stuff signed like I used to always do, and I said, would you ever consider backflipping and staying with us? Because Cherry Evans' a thing, and he said, no, my granddad taught me when you give someone your word, you honour it. And he said, I don't want to leave, but that's the way it is. They've offered me more money, he said, actually, than what the Raiders had. So I think it'd be cool. To be the detractor from that one, I will say that Aiden Caesar in that Tigers versus Raiders game did not show... Like, I understand now he's starting, which is what the Tigers should have done in the first place. Yeah. I understand now he's starting over Sullivan, and they've got Galvin, who looks great there in the 5'8", but I do think that Caesar's best years are definitely beyond him. So we'll kind of throw this out here to you. You know, let's say, and I know you're a massive fan of Jackson Hastings, but, you know, let's say that Tanner didn't work out, and he does say, you know what, listen, I am available on the market because I don't agree with how the Knights are treating me. And I guess this is just fanfare for people because Desi won't care what you have to say respectfully to everybody. But what would you say? Would you kind of entertain the idea of Jackson Hastings if that became on the market? No, for reasons I won't get into on this podcast, but just simply put, he has had issues with almost every club he's been at, so it's a no for that reason. But two, I don't even want to begin to speculate on that because I still trust Tanner and believe that Tanner will be that guy for us. So.
The only reason I bring that up is for genuine fanfare. Like I said, I believe in Tanner and I'm going to back Tanner in at very minimum. Like, I'm going to back him in forever. But at very minimum, I'm going to publicly back him as our halfback until at very least after the Dolphins game. We need to see. These next two games are so pivotal for him. And I think he knows that. I know that. We all know that. And just because we get past that and I say, listen, we probably do need to look at a different halfback, does not mean that I don't like the guy anymore, right? Like, I love him. I'll always love him. But at the end of the day, we want to win a premiership. So, Tanner, you just please go out and perform these next couple of weeks, right? And please stop letting us have to deal with people saying, you know, sign 33-year-old halfbacks from the West Tigers. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I love Aiden. I do love Aiden, but you know what I'm saying. So, come on, Tam. Let's get it this week, man, please.
Man, even if we signed Aiden and he didn't play, I'd just be happy to have him around the club again, man, because 2014 was his last year.
I used to play FIFA with him, man.
Nice. Nah, he's a cool guy, man. And, like, yeah, just, you know, 10-year reunion, back at the Titans for a last ride. I'd love that. But that's obviously speculation. We don't need to go down there. Final question. Let's keep this short and sharp before we get into our preview. Where do we have the biggest strength in our lineup against this Doggy side, in your opinion?
So we got a comment the other week when we went through this over the Dragons, and obviously we got him humiliated. We got a comment saying, we spoke about this last week, but we respect your confidence, but, you know, say you're better in this position or every position than the Dragons is wild. And it's like, I still believe that, which is what I said last week. I still believe that. Now we're going to go here through this team, and I'm going to say the exact same thing against the Dogs. And can I get punched, uppercutted right in the chin? Absolutely. Keanu Kenny versus Blake Taaffe. I take Keanu Kenny every day of the week. The wingers of Alofiana Kamprera and Philip Sami. Now, they're missing out Josh Adokar, right? He's injured. They've got Connor Tracy and Blake Wilson. I take our wingers. With Adokar, it's probably quite even, in what I would say. But I take our wingers there. Centers-wise, at Kraz and Crichton versus AJ Brimmer and Brian Kelly. I probably do lean with their centers, to be fair. I love our centers of AJ Brimmer, Millionaire, and Brian Kelly. But I do think Stephen Crichton is the best center in the game right now. Well, maybe not the Doggies, but when he was at the Panthers. And then Jacob Craze is also great. So I probably do give them their lean, and that's probably the only lean I go with them. The halves of Kieran Foran and Tanner Boyd, fun fact for you, Hutcho is lucky to even be in first grade, and he's in this Dogs team over Toby Sexton. Crazy. But Matt Burton and Drew Hutchison, Burton's not a half for mine. He's a centre, or even throw him in the fullback if you need to, but I don't think he's a half. And Hutchinson, don't start me. I'm taking Tanner Boyd and Kieran Foran over them every single day, and we don't usually give halves battles to our team. Right? We don't usually do that. So the back line, I'm loving. The front row of Tino Fa'asuamaleaui and Mikey Fodawaker versus Maxi King, who I love. I love Maxi, personally. Great bloke. And Liam Knight. Liam Knight made 6 knock-ons in their preseason, right? But I'm nervous about saying this, because Mikey Fodawaker and Tino Fa'asuamaleaui, unfortunately, in the middle, we kind of got slapped against this Dragons team that was awful. We got slapped. So this Dogs forward pack, which I'm about to get into, is so small. And we've got a decent-sized forward pack here. I don't think that we have any opportunity to lose his front row forward battle. We shouldn't. Max King is a great player for a second in charge. I don't believe that he's a first in charge. No, I think he's great at second in charge, but he's not a first in charge. And Max, family, if you're watching, love you, but just am not a big fan of you in regards to being the first in charge, but a great fan of you as a second in charge. Reed Marnie versus Chrissy Randall. I think if you're going via Parramatta form, Reed Marnie, but I think if you're going by a form at each club, I'm taking Chris Randall. I think so. At the Titans, I think he's been way better than what Reed Marnie's been at the Doggies. He's been one of the kind of lesser hookers at the Dogs, to be fair. Like, he's been bottom 3 for hookers at the Dogs. I'd take Chris Randall. Back row is Cleese Haas and Bobby Firmo versus Jacob Preston for Liami Kickow. I'll probably give the X Factor battle to them there, but I also think that we have every right to be up there with them. But I will give that battle there at the back row. If Dave Fafita's playing, and this is no disrespect to the best house in the business, but if Dave is playing that 11, I'm giving their battle to us, for sure. But I just think that Cleese, we need to have the X factor from him to be on that same level as them. And in regards to 13, I don't know. Jimmy's not a 13. James Salmon shouldn't be there. Josh Curran should be there, is what I would personally say. So I think that they've got a couple of positional areas, like that back row and like the centres. But also, your centres are only as good as your halves. And your back row is only as good as your halves, and the Dogs don't have halves. So that's how I would wrap up these two teams. And I would say in regards to the benches, I think it's a bit of a wash. I think Sam Verrills is great. I feel like our guys are great, but I also think that Sam Hughes is solid. Josh Curran is great. And Kurt Mann and Kurt Marin are kind of, how you're going. So overall, I give us the lead, but would you agree with me in regards to the 13, that even though James Hammond is a 13, like Jimmy Jolliffe and is not a 13, I still don't know who to pick in that regard for that specific position?
Well, one's a ball player and one's a classic middle forward that, is a prop, really. So, yeah, you can't compare them. You're comparing an apple and an orange there. For me, I think our greatest strength when I compare these lineups is our halves, because we have someone like Tanner Boyd whose back's against the wall and has shown talent and potential.
Love it.
And then, of course, we know what Kieran Foran brings, especially under Des Hasler, which will be his first game under Des in a while. Fresh, having recovered from the injury and not
Kieran
having any
played
miles.
for the Dogs. Desi Hasler coached the Dogs as well.
Exactly right. So he's against his former club as well. Whereas Drew Hutchison and Matt Burton, I think it's fair to say they've been very underwhelming as a halves partnership to open the year for the Doggies. Where I think our biggest weakness is against this forward pack isn't in a specific part of the team list. It's on that left edge. I think Stephen Crichton is a very dangerous centre. He'll be linking up outside of Matt Burton and with Viliami Kikau there as well. So there's a few different attacking options for them. So our left side will be AJ Brimson's side on defence with Sammy. So they have their work cut out there, but I think the boys will be more than up to the challenge. Let's jump into our specific preview. We all know we're against the Doggies this Saturday, 2 p.m. Queensland time, 3 p.m. New South Wales time, and the game is at Belmore Stadium. Straight off the top, I am feeling quite confident here. And I know that Titans fans can point out, how can you feel like that after round one? And I definitely hear you there. But as the age-old saying goes, time heals all wounds. And for me, I've moved on and left that game in the past. We went 1-1 with the Doggies last year, and they're our only victory. And our only victory within the last 5 games is, what am I saying here? Our only victory within our last 5 games.
Out of our last 5 games, we've lost 4 of them. We won 1, and that was against the Dogs, is what you're saying.
And that was against the Doggies. Thank you for saving me there. I was like a fish out of water. Now, Des Hasler, he comes up against his former side for the first time as a Titan. Big moment for Des. Like, obviously, everyone's going to point to the Manly rematch more because of how he left that club. But this is also a big moment for Des against a club that does give him a lot of hate from the supporters' side, at least. So I'll go over to you. I'll get your thoughts first on this one. How do you have this game playing out and some of your predictions for within it?
I'm confident. I feel like this is a game, and yeah, as you kind of said, like, how do people get confident about it? I guess we have to be, especially when, like, if you're coming to the game, God bless, it's going to be a tough one to deal with in regards to the fan base there. So you have to come in with a positive mindset. You have to come in thinking, you know what, we've got a good chance here, because you don't want to be travelling down there and expecting a loss, right? Especially to a team of this standard who have lost to the Sharkies and have also lost to the... who's the other team, Clarkey? The other team they lost to was the Eels. That's right.
Eels.
Don't worry.
Yep,
just go back to muted. But yeah, Eels in round one. So two decent enough teams there, so you can't really get too much of a read. But overall, like, I am confident. I think that we are a better team, and I feel like we've got more to prove. But the issue is, though, is that the Dogs are playing at home. But I will also kind of go the issue to that issue, right, is that they've won 3 out of their last 14 games at Belmore, so not a great record. And fun fact for everyone, we are undefeated at Belmore, which actually Bulldogs creator Winston Neville is the one who told me about this. The Titans are undefeated at Belmore. It's crazy. We're undefeated at Belmore. So, and that was in 2018. We played them there. I believe we played them twice, and it said that we drew, but it says on a rugby league project, which I don't agree with. I can't remember us drawing there, but... I know we definitely won in 2018, so hopefully we keep this momentum going in regards to that. And we just need to get ourselves back into a positive mindset, because we don't want the Dolphins. So the Dolphins have to bye this week, guys, and I know I'm looking ahead. We're allowed to do this as fans, players can't, right? But for me, and as fans, we play the Dolphins at home next week. Now, the Dolphins are coming off a massive win after bouncing back from their Cowboys loss. So that's why it gives me, I'm kind of jumbling this up, but if you're a rugby league fan, you know what I'm saying here. So the Dolphins, they bounced back from their Cowboys loss, and they got pumped by the Cowboys. And now they've got to bye, and then they play us at Seabus the week after. So one, that gives us confidence that although they looked as awful as they did in round one, they then turned it around in game 2, which shows that we can do the exact same, right? And they played the Dragons, who, that's a negative on us, is that we got absolutely flogged in game 1 by the Dragons, but the turnaround was that they got absolutely trounced by the Dolphins, right? Which is not a good look for the Titans as a whole. So we want to have as much confidence as we can going into that game next week, based off the fact that they're coming off that game against the Dragons, and I want to win this game well. I don't want to have to think about this being a 1-12er. I think if we're close at the 60-minute mark, I reckon we can pull away, which is exactly what the Eels have done and exactly what the Sharkies have done. And I think that the only issue that I find is that the Doggies, being 0-2, they do have a lot to prove to be, not 0-3. If they go 0-3, then there is big-time problems at that club, which there is big-time problems. But if they beat us, they don't prove anything either, right? So they're going to go into this game expecting to win. So hopefully we can, be the naysayers to that and get our first win. And it's a bit of a confusing situation, but at the end of the day, I think that if Toby Sexton was playing as their 7 alongside Matty Burton, I would be a lot more nervous than Drew Hutchinson, because for some reason, every time we go up against a player on another team that used to play for us, I always get nervous that they're going to score and they're going to kill it, which is what I believe Toby Sexton could do. So, I'm confident, man, but is that because I'm forced to be confident, or is it because I genuinely believe in this team? I think it's because a mixture of both.
I'm just looking. Toby Sexton is named in their reserve, so he could come in late, but I don't think he will. I think they'll stick it with Hutcho. I've got a few thoughts on this game. I've got some pretty strong thoughts on this game, actually. And I had some strong thoughts in round 1. All I can do is put my hand up and say I got it wrong there. Hopefully now with some stats behind me.
I can't believe you would tell the audience that we'd win round 1. That was so obviously going to be a loss, Clarkey. Gee whiz.
Yeah, that was so irresponsible of me. But look, let's go to round 1 for us. Tack was quite obviously an issue. We didn't really look threatening. We had a lot of ball, but we couldn't convert points or pressure realistically. Our halves didn't connect that well. Well, lucky for us in this one, the Bulldogs have conceded the second most points in the league in their opening 2 games. So that helps us. We're not coming up against a defensive juggernaut like the Melbourne Storm, for example. Now, because we have Kieran Foran back, I still hold the faith that if we do have that same possession run that we had in the first half against the Dragons, here against the Doggies, we do convert that to points. And at minimum, we convert it to pressure and fatigue, which in turn helps us defensively. The Doggies, now they're only completing at 75% this year. That's nearly 10% less than we did against the Dragons.
It's better than the Rabbitohs.
It is. But that's still one error every 4 sets. So we've got a really good opportunity here defensively to make that first contact really powerful, wrap that ball, and really force them to, hey, we're defending well here. So if you want to score points, you've got to chance your arm. And we know from the first 2 games when the Doggies chance their arm statistically, there's one error every 4 sets, which is very, very good for us. I think for us, when we look at our side on paper, we are so much stronger than the Bulldogs. But football's not played on paper. We need to put all the pieces together this week. We weren't able to do that in week 2 or week 1. Well, week 1 of the preseason is not fair. We weren't able to do it in week 2 of the preseason against the Eels with all the chopping and changing. We certainly weren't able to do it in round 1. So that's what the challenge is this week. We need to get all the pieces of this puzzle to fit together. We need to get our halves to connect, which I suspect they will a lot better. Now it's our main man, Kieran Foran back. And the whole picture just needs to come together for us. That's that goal this week. But with that being said, that is a secondary goal. The goal here needs to be to win and win well, right? If we were versing the Panthers or the Storm and we saw those improvements and the side connected and gelled really well, but we lost by 10, I'd sit there and go, it's okay. There's positive signs there. But it's not. It's the Bulldogs, guys. It's the opposite. I will go as far to say if we want to be taken seriously and we want to play finals this year, a win against the Bulldogs should come with absolute ease. This game should not be of concern to us, guys. If we believe we're a final side this year, which a lot of our fans do, this game, honestly, our players should be winning this and they should be winning it very well. Why do I say that? Well, the Bulldogs last year, they recorded 1 win against the top 8 side. It was the Melbourne Storm in round 2. It was a shock result. Prior to that, we go back to round 14 of 2022 for their next victory over a top 8 side.
Mate, you tell them, mate. You just get, I love this passion. You get into them.
Guys, we're going back halfway 2 seasons ago for their next top 8 win. Like, you take away that Storm win, which the Storm were obviously off that night and took it way too lightly. They have not beat a top 8 side in over 2 years, 2.5 years. So they're a side that doesn't beat top 8 sides. It's that simple. There's a less than 5% chance dating back to the start of the 2022 season that they beat a top 8 side. Less than 5% is their odds of beating top 8 sides in the snapshot of the last 2 seasons and to start this season as well. So this is not only a game that we should win. Now we know those stats. This is a game we must win. It is that simple. I believe we will. I think the week's rest after the bye is so important to reset mentally, not so much physically at this time of the year. Physically, we were fine against the Dragons. We just weren't all up here mentally. So there's a reset there. We've recomposed under a veteran coach in Des Hasler, and I am tipping us to win this game 13 plus and play how we should have played in round 1. That's what I'm tipping. Are you tipping the same?
I'm slapping him down, son. Slapping it down. We're punching our chest again every week. And we're going to do it this time. We're going to do it. I'm tipping us 13 plus, man. I'm doing it. You know what? I'm going to back us in. If we were to lose this game, then against Dolphins, I'm not tipping us 13 plus, lads. Like, I'll be honest with you. I'll be so heartbroken and so shattered that, you know what? That'll be the time that, okay, so let's just touch wood. It doesn't happen, right? But let's assume that we lose the Dogs. And then next week we tip against us, against the Dolphins. And then that's when we win 13 plus.
That would be a very, very rugby league.
That would be a Titans thing to do, to be fair. But I don't believe it's going to happen. We're going to slap it down. You know, we're going to slap it down. I'm going to be down there. We're going to be getting crazy. We're going to be getting loud as best as we can. That doesn't antagonize the locals. And yeah, look, I'm excited, man. You know, it's time for us to. And this is what I heard from Stevie Mitchell before the season started, right? The word resilient has been associated with our club for a very long time. We don't want to be resilient. We want to be relentless. Resilient is a negative word that is talking about how we're constantly getting hit and knocked down and we're always having to get back up. Well, screw that. I don't want to be getting back up. I want to be relentless where we're constantly going at them and constantly winning and constantly just being that team that other teams are like, oh, geez, I don't want to be playing them. You know, that's not who we want to be playing this week. So it's not about being resilient. It's about being relentless. And we need to start this week. We need to start getting rock and rolling because guess what? We've got a big away stretch coming up. All right. So this is our first of this away stretch. We've got Bulldogs. Actually, within the next 6 weeks, we played home twice, right? So we play, or 7 weeks. Yeah, we play at home twice the next 7 weeks. Bulldogs away, the Dolphins at home, then we've got Cowboys away, Canberra away, Manly at home, and then New Zealand away. Right? So that's in our next 6 games, we only play at home twice. One of them a big game against Manly, with obviously the Desi Hasler rivalry, and then the other one a big local derby against the Gigga. Right? So we need to win this game because we've got a pretty tough schedule coming up.
Blaze, I want to end our show on a joke. You know I'm a really funny man.
Are we talking about a Gigga?
No, we're not.
The Gigga! That's a good joke. I love it.
I know this one was a fan favourite based on the response we got from it last week, so we'll go this one.
You're kind of off camera a little bit, by the way. Let's move to the right of you. You to the right a little bit. There we go. Beautiful. Now we're talking.
Alrighty, let me bring the mic to me instead. What did Cameron Ciraldo say to the Bulldogs on Monday after they started their season 0-3 because we smashed them?
I don't want to know.
Boys, it's been a real rough start to the year, hasn't it?
Adam, this is your fault. I'm going to just set this is a shout out to you, Adzi, Adam, a good friend of mine. This is your fault for encouraging him. Adam messaged me saying, just tell Clarkey I really liked the joke. And Adam's actually a Broncos fan, fun fact to you. But he said he listened to the podcast and he said, I really like the joke. And I said, please don't encourage him. Well, this is what you've done, Adam. This is what you've done. This is what you've done. So, God bless you. God bless all our souls who have to listen to that joke. That was awful. That was awful.
If you ever run a Titans game, mate, we'll get a jersey on you and I'll get you a beer as well. Because you're my number one supporter. Thank you very much to our viewers for being here with this show. Our next podcast will be released at the exact same time. Final message from myself. Go the Titans. Let's put a muzzle on these puppies and show them who the boss is.
Whoa, whoa.
Save me in this podcast right now.
No, we're still. Oh, well, guys, hit that like button. Follow us if you're new around here. I'll see you guys down there in Belmore if you're coming. We'll be on the hill. You won't miss us. I'm so sorry. This is what you have to put up with each week. Not in regards to the team, in regards to us. And let's get a win this week, baby. Let's get a win. Premiership muscle, son. Premiership muscle.